Hello, my name's Jonathan from Mental Help, and today I'm going to talk about suicide. It's going to be a bit of a tricky one to talk about. I was suicidal once, about 10 years ago, and I was in a suicidal state for probably about 4 months. So, I felt pretty low and life wasn't very good. I grew up not knowing I had OCD. When I was 4 or 5, sort of age to become a bit more self-aware, mixing with other kids, they tend to point out things that are different about you. And I guess because of the Tourette's, I had a lot of twitches and things like that. And kids can be quite cruel. However, let's move forward to teenage years, where I certainly started to realise that I had obsessions with doing various different things. Checking things, touching things, asking questions again and again and again, having to do certain strange behaviours basically. I just knew there was something. I knew that why do I do these things? Why does no one else do these things? Why does nobody else have to check and keep doing these things? It doesn't seem normal. And I was always beating myself up about it and always feeling, why am I so weak and pathetic? Why can I not stop myself from doing these things? Because anyone in my life would have just said, well, just stop it. Just stop doing it. It's a habit, it's silly. Just get over it, basically. It's common for people to say that because, they don't understand. I didn't understand. I didn't understand why I couldn't just get over it or just stop doing it. I used to wake up every morning and think, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this. And, I failed every day of my life trying not to do it. It's quite tricky to talk about this as well, because I don't talk about this to people, generally speaking. It's not a party piece, is it? When I got to the age of 33, 34 years old, for some reason, it's always getting me down. I was on a computer and I was on Google, and for some reason I just typed in something to do with, why do I have to keep checking? Why do I have to keep touching this? Why do I have to keep doing these various stupid things that I should just be able to get over and shake off and stop being so silly? And all of a sudden, a huge pages and pages of information about OCD kept coming up. And every time I read about them, it was, that's exactly what I do. That is to the letter what I am doing. And I broke down into tears. I remember the day, I remember the exact time, it was the afternoon. I just remember feeling just, I don't know what it was. It was anger and frustration and relief and hope, and all of these emotions came in. And the only way I could probably describe it is, when you're watching like some kind of a suspense film, and there's your character, they may be getting followed by someone, and somebody is trying to always ruin their life, and they'll always vanish. Nobody believes they exist. Everybody says, don't be silly, it's in your imagination, it's not real, like they do in these films. And then if you imagine that film, all of a sudden, the other people realise that that person is real, who's been sabotaging, and they suddenly believe. I'm not saying that everybody else believed me, because I wasn't that fortunate. Because when I actually did start to tell people I was close to and who loved me, they cared for me so much they didn't really want me to label myself, and kind of encouraged me positively to carry on just trying to forget it and pretend it doesn't exist and it's not real. And don't go to a doctor because you'll get labelled as someone who's got mental health problems. So basically I understood where those people were coming from, and there were people who care for me, obviously. But the problem was, I saw that as people who are close to me actually still don't believe that I'm actually struggling with something that is real. And we are struggling with something that's real. That caused anger, and then it caused resentment in me. And then I felt alone, and then I felt destructive. I really felt destructive. I felt so destructive of my life, and something disappeared from something left me that day. I went downhill very, very quickly. I didn't have a moral compass, I didn't have a purpose, I didn't have a reason to live. I didn't have a reason to exist. I didn't believe in God anymore. I didn't believe all that stuff I'd been told. I started to resent church, resent Christianity, anything to do with religion I hated. Started quite soon after that to start to hate people. Started to hate myself. I really hated myself. I would basically spend all my time indoors. I just hated life. I'd let my businesses fall apart. I'd become very, very depressed, and I was like that for a long time. I just didn't want to be alive anymore. I actually stopped eating. I went from 16 stone down to 11 and a half stone. And people were worried about me. And I wasn't. I just wanted to die. My OCD was really bad. My Tourette's, my issues, my habits were consuming me like all the time because I was always on my own. What was the point of me even being alive? I served no purpose. And I remember when I first thought about killing myself, and it had taken about a week to build up to it because I was thinking, oh, you know, my mum and dad are going to be heartbroken, my two sisters. And I just remember starting to prepare to kill myself. And I remember there was a knock on the door. I was confused really because no one knocked my door ever. No one knocked my door. And I went down and it was somebody to do with the church. Last person I wanted to see. Oh, lucky I didn't take them with me. They just said they just had an urge. They just had something come in their head and God told them to come and knock on my door. That really shook me up. And I didn't do anything, basically. I was okay. I think they prayed with me or something like that. And I really wasn't particularly interested in anything to do with church. And I wasn't wanting to do anything to do with them. I think it was probably about 2 weeks later that I had a lot of dark thoughts again. I was consumed with them. Obsessiveness is very, very strong. And when it got hold of me, along with the other things I was struggling with, and what I'd already spoke about earlier, I was a very angry person. I was very emotional all the time. I was very angry, emotional, confused. I actually went to commit suicide the second time. And this time I decided that I was going to, I was going to strangle myself. And I actually remember starting to do that to see what it felt like. And I remember putting I thought, it's not pleasant. I'm not going to enjoy that. And I went back to the original plan that I had. I don't want to go into the darkness. Okay, right. Doing this in sections so I can sort myself out. I came very close to killing myself again. And I really, that time at 11 o'clock was when I was really contemplating it quite seriously. And I just was so close. And the door knocked again. Another person to do with the church had said, God sent me to talk. And I was like, don't talk such. I mean, it was just, I was really furious. He said, God sent me to talk to you. I don't know why, but I've been sent and I've just got a strong urge to come and talk to you. And then the third time, much the same, probably a week or so later, I thought, that's it. This happened 3 times and it doesn't even sound believable. It sounds like it's made up because I have an engineering and science background and I know the statistics of that happening are pretty impossible. And as a result of that, I decided to reevaluate my life. And I decided that, maybe there is a God and maybe I'll give that a benefit of the doubt. And I started to believe and to see, it seemed like a miracle. And I thank God for that. And I am a Christian, I do believe. And that was a big change in my life, seeing that happen. But when that happened, something else happened. Because that guy prayed for me and stuff. And something happened inside of me I was filled with compassion, I was filled with love. And I hadn't felt that. And one thing I would say is that I became very aware of what would it have been like. What would it have been like for my mother to have a call to say her son's killed himself? My father to have a call to say his son has killed himself? Or my sisters to know that their brother has killed himself? What sort of man would I be to do that to those people in my life who've loved me all my life? And I decided to change my life around. I decided to get some help. And I started to see a doctor and I started to get diagnosed. And they said, you know, you've got OCD, you've got Tourette's, you've got these different things, you've got some mental health issues. And I started to see things a bit more positively. And that was 10 years ago. And I've just struggled this last 10 years with OCD. And it's only this recently, I'm always fighting, it's only recently I've started to actually do these videos and to be open with with what it's like to actually have this. And start to try to do something about it, to fight back against OCD and against these things. But I think talking on the subject, which is suicide, I think if you know anybody who's struggling with these things like suicide and stuff, if you have never been suicidal, never tried to understand someone who's suicidal. If you've never been depressed, clinically depressed, don't try to understand someone who's been depressed. It's not your job. Your job as a human being with compassion and caring is to try to be there for people and try to be sympathetic and understand them and help them. And you know, some people came into my life at that time and they did help me and they did pick me up and they did, something happened in my heart as well. I knew one day things could be better. And you know, probably about 6 months after that last contemplation of attempting suicide, my life came back together again. And I picked myself up off my feet. Family and friends helped me, showed me love. I also realised that I'd been petulant in the past. I also realised that I'd been full of self-pity and woe. When I realised OCD existed, I hadn't necessarily gone about it the best way. I hadn't dealt with it the best way. I'd let it consume me with self-pity. All I can say now is I've got a fantastic family behind me, supporting me. I've got value to my life again. And I would never want to not be around. I don't think I'd ever really want to be completely cured of all of these things. Because they make me who I am. They make me into silly sausage, sensitive fool, caring, fun person. Just someone who's just trying to do something good and also leave something behind one day. Well, I'm not going yet. Someone who leaves something behind in the sense of maybe these videos will be an encouragement to some people. And I know there's lots of you out there who've got OCD and I've read all your comments. You want to end things and don't want to be alive anymore, you don't see the point in life. That's probably what spurred me on to do this video, because don't think like that. I used to think like that. And you can get there. And if I can help you, I will do my best to help you. We all need each other, we need people. Thank you for watching this video. And I'm sorry that I've got upset and tried not to. It's very hard not to, unfortunately. Leave some comments if you're struggling with life and things. Just leave some comments, and you know, I might be able to help. I'll do my best. That's all I can say. I'll just do my best. Thank you very much. Goodbye.